Lone Star City Council special meeting being held September 15th. Special meeting. Thank you. September the 15th at 6:04 p.m. is now being called order. Father, we thank you, we praise you for all that you do for us. Lord, you bless us and guide us. We thank you for Lone Star, this wonderful place that we all live. We pray for wisdom to know how to make good decisions for the populace that lives here so that we're effective. It is our intent to give the best service possible. And Lord, we just ask for your guidance on that. We pray that you would bless this place. And may all that we do bring glory to your Son Christ in some way. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Citizens' comments, for those of you who haven't visited here before, you have signed in, I assume?
Yes.
Can I make a motion before that? I'd like to make a motion to adjourn and reschedule for next Thursday. I would just like more time to go over the minutes and some of the financial statements.
You're making a motion to adjourn?
Yep.
There's been a motion to adjourn, hold the meeting next Thursday. Is there a second on that?
Can I make a comment? We drove 10 hours to be here tonight. And to do it another week, it really messes with our time schedule.
There's no second to the motion.
No, we just want, okay. Well, what I'm going to do is allow you to speak since you've come so far, and I appreciate that.
Okay.
You have 3 minutes to speak on the subject matter that you have, and what I'm going to ask you to do is stand up, introduce yourself. You speak to the chair. This is not a discussion that goes back between you and council. And then we'll look at the motion to adjourn.
Shouldn't we do that first, Mayor?
What's that, sir?
Look at the motion to adjourn.
Albeit that these people have come so far, I want you to hear what they have to say. Then we'll go to that. Go ahead, sir.
Well, my name is Jimmy Hampton. This is my wife Gina from Sherry Southern. And a little bit of history. We live in the Oklahoma Panhandle. We're getting retirement age and we're looking at some place to retire. Her brother lives down in Murchison, Texas, halfway between Tyler and Athens, and we like this part of Texas. We've looked for months for a place, and we found 520 East Industrial. It was a strange way we located it, but it was something that we liked. The home of 3 acres. You probably all know the gentleman that did live there. My mother-in-law would like to put a manufactured home on that property so she could be close to both her children.
What year, Jimmy? What year it is?
Well, it's a brand new, it'll be a brand new home.
Understood. Anyone else have anything to say before we go on to the next business? There's been a motion that we cancel the meeting for the night and reschedule it for next Thursday night. Give you more time to look at the data that you have. Do I hear a second to that motion? No second from anyone? We'll continue. 4 consent items. These are the minutes of the budget meetings from August 18th, 22nd, 25th, and 29th.
May I comment?
Yes.
I need to make a correction on the the council packet that you guys have. First of all, at the top, I need to have a correction made on the special meeting to be the regular meeting. Second of all, I need to make a correction on the budget meeting identified as August the 18th. That was actually a regular council meeting. And on the last two items, I need to make an addition of the date of September the 6th, 2022 on both of those. But I could not do this until we had the meeting tonight so that it can be approved and discussed at council. Since the agenda was posted Monday of this week.
Say it again, Tina, what you said about that.
I need to correct the special meeting listed at the top. It is a regular meeting. This is one of these late night work things. I need to correct that. I need to correct the August 18th item from budget meeting to a regular council meeting. And the last two items, I need to add the date of September the 6th, 2022 to both of those items.
If you will, upon correction, please send it back out to everyone so that they have got
I
it.
will.
Well, you've been through numerous budget meetings. The rates have been voted on. Are there any additional comments about that? And if not, do I hear a motion that they be accepted?
I move that we accept. I move that we accept the, items, 5 items, really, 4 items,
Six.
items.
6 items.
It's been a long day, hasn't it? Here a motion that we accept the consent items, the 6 consent items. Do I have a second?
I'll second
Have a second. All in favor say aye. Please raise your hand. Have 3, sir.
I haven't had time to go over the minutes really, so I'm abstaining from voting on it.
All right. 5 reports, 5-1 through 5-7. Haven't had time to at least look through them. I suggest you do so. Take a few minutes.
This is, 5 through 5-7, so. So on the, first part of the financial reports, budgeted amount versus October 21 through August of 22. The budgeted amount is, that's not the budget amount for the whole year, right? We still lack 1 month in that fiscal year. And so that's the budgeted amount for 11 months, is that?
What page you on? I want to make sure. I'm
Page 1 of the financial report, so the very first one.
Okay.
That was the budget amount that was put in the computer.
So, like franchise fees were significantly above 12,000, what was budgeted for the year. So that's, 13,000 closer to. But is the budgeted amount of 48,000, is that for 11 months, August, September?
It's gonna be for the time period that you've got reported,
Okay.
October to August.
And so it's just an average and then times the number of months probably in this case?
The budget amount is what was put in the budget for last year. The October 21 through August 22 is what has actually come in. And you can tell we had like a significant increase from Windstream and Bowie Cast that was not projected because we did not have the franchise increases. This is capturing what we did start getting in August, so apparently our increases have started coming in.
And October to August is that 11 months? No, it's 10 months.
Thanks.
11 months.
It's gonna- September will be our,
Okay, so
September will be our 12th month, so it'll be.
So the budgeted amount, that's probably just the total budget amount divided by 12 times 11, right? Probably.
Based upon what it says, is this the budget that was put in last year,
For the whole year?
from what I'm looking at on the numbers.
Okay, so then we're even more than 13, we'll come in even more than 13,000.
We could, yes,
Okay,
when we get September's in.
all right. And the property tax, 35,000 above, sales tax 4,000 below. What was the transfer in? It's 20,000, it was budgeted at 0. 44017, about halfway down.
That was transferred in from the water and sewer account alone to the general fund. And then the general fund returned it back to the water and sewer account. That we paid it back, the money that we borrowed at the particular time that it was borrowed.
Okay. And so, let's see. And we're 30,000 below on salaries and wages, right? And so that should come in even better. On page 2. $63110.
Yes, because we had some employees that have left from what we budgeted for last year.
People have talked about that and wondered where it is, and I guess there it is, so. And then on fire department and police department, it shows, that 64107 and 65115, it shows them being way over budget. What is that? What is the expense there? Because it's not.
65107
That's
is the vehicles.
64107, yeah.
Oh,
And then 65115.
that's vehicle expenses. The PD's vehicle expenses are going to include things such as tires, batteries, inspections on the vehicles. It's going to include
Oil change, I guess.
oil changes. All of that's lumped together. It's going to be the same thing for the fire department. That is where we capture any of the expenses for our vehicles.
Oh, one other question. What are the dues, publications, or dues and publications?
Which account, which,
I guess there aren't any on, there was some budgeted on fire, but there weren't any expense.
65103.
Yeah, 65103.
Didn't that include cop seat?
On ours, I believe it is in 2 places.
What you say?
It may be our cop sync and our T-Cles account from T-Co.
Explain what Topsy Kids and Tico is.
The T-Co's who we get our commission from, for the state. Cop sync's the booklet system that we use.
Do we just pay them monthly a flat rate, or?
no, it's annual.
I believe
It's
it's
annual.
yearly.
Annual? But it doesn't change based on any sort of factor?
Not unless they change it.
I mean, street and road repairs, 3,000 under, so. But overall, the general fund, it showed we would be, 52,000 in the very last line on page 3. 52,000, in the red, and we're 77,000 in the black, so. That's what it looks like. on that. Fixed assets, page 10 of the financial reports. So it shows buildings at 149,000. And that's what I talked to the auditor about. Because I looked at the last 10 years of audits in the Lone Star Elementary property. Started for the city's perspective, 1.3 million, then 300,000, then 0, then 400,000. And none of that showed up ever as an asset. And that could affect, cost of borrowing and stuff like that. And that's one of the things I talked to the auditor about. Did he get back with you?
He has come in, he has brought paperwork into our adjustments, but because I already had the agenda made up, I could not
Okay.
give it to you, so I
All
will
right.
have that on the list next month. He did recommend that you guys throw away the previous packet, because they did print them back out, a brand new packet of it. It does capture the school. When they went back and did the research on it, he discussed the fact that the reason why it was not put back on the books was back when it was transferred to you. It was taken off the books at that time, or however that worked. That was before my time, so I
Yeah.
don't have a clue how all that worked.
Because the problem started years before that happened.
Well, from what he could find, from what he discussed with me, was how they missed it on it was not captured after it got returned to the city of Lone Star. When it was taken out, for whatever reasons or however long ago it was, it was taken off the books at that time, during the time period that you were going to do the schooling or whatever. And if it was prior to that, I'm not aware. That's what he was digging back. He went through minutes and stuff.
Because I went through the audits for 10 years, and when it first showed up at 1.3 or 1.2 million, it didn't show up as an asset to the city, so that's not a good explanation.
Well, that was the only thing he could find. He went back through several years of their records. And he said, this is the only thing I can find. He said, I went through minutes, I went through the council minutes and stuff. And he says, and when I saw, he made reference to the time when it was put back, or when the city, it was notated in one of the meetings that the city had the property back or whatever. And he said, but it was not communicated to them, nor was it put back on the books at that time. So,
Yeah, that's, like I said, that's not a good explanation.
well, I can only tell you what he told me,
Yeah.
'Cause I wasn't here, so I have no idea how all that worked.
How much do we pay for the audit? Do you know, just off the top of your head?
I think between 14 and 15.
Also, right below there, it says streets, 200,000. Are the streets really only valued at 200,000?
Where are you at? Okay, you're on page 10.
Yeah.
12350.
It just seems really low.
I do not put that number in. That number is apparently factored in from some baseline. I cannot answer that question for you on fixed assets. That was done when Ruth was here. And then based upon depreciations and activities that we do monthly, apparently just that. I don't fix that. I don't change any numbers on that.
One other minor question on this page. There's $7.03 in a boat ramp account. What is that?
The boat ramp account that had funding allocated at one point in time when when the boat ramp was put in. That's the balance that's left in that account.
All right.
Any further comments or questions? And if you have more, I'm not trying to cut you off.
No, that was it.
Okay, I make a motion that we accept reports 5.1 through 5.7 A and B as reported.
I'll second it.
Motion to accept the reports, seconded. All in favor, say aye. Anyone?
Nick, just for the reasons I mentioned, but I think we're getting there.
6-1, review discussion possible action to consider the placement of a double-wide mobile home on a 3-acre lot located at 520 East Industrial Avenue.
I have a question. What, do we have an ordinance currently that prohibits mobile homes?
Yes, sir, that is correct.
Ordinance number 181 has a section 3.2 says it shall be unlawful for any person to locate and maintain for dwelling or sleeping purposes any mobile home or travel trailer in any place in the city of Lone Star other than a duly licensed mobile home park or travel trailer park unless permission is granted by the city council in a regular session.
There's one mobile home park, I guess, by Spring Market,
Yes, sir, back behind.
and I guess maybe some others that are grandfathered in,
They
or?
were all grandfathered up.
And then the one that's by.
South Shore.
Yes, we gave them.
That was an acceptance section that you made.
And there's one down the road, right down here on the left, that's grandfathered in.
Where, I don't know where that this particular name is.
Correct me if I'm wrong, is the house, or have y'all officially bought the home?
We
next
close
week?
next week.
Okay, and did y'all buy that maybe from a Diamond T Properties?
Yes.
Okay, because when we had the water turned on, it was under that business, and we wanted to make sure that you guys were actually gonna be taking ownership of
Yes.
it.
Right.
So it's the brown brick house right next to E.L. Farmer, that old trucking company?
Yes.
And it has a RV shed
It's,
to the left of it, if you're looking.
it could be an RV shed, I don't think.
Well, it
that's
looks like a pole barn,
Yeah.
RV
Yeah.
shed that was under it, and then it has a storage building or either a tiny home or something right next to that, is that correct?
It's a shop,
A shop, that small building is?
yes.
Okay.
Well, I don't know what it was used for in the past.
Right,
It will be shut.
and you guys have a pole barn shed at the very back of the property, correct?
Yes.
Several stalls in it to where the gentleman had equipment stored in it.
There's no stalls.
Right, the pole barn, just a roof and no sides. A good sized tin shop that he worked out of.
I'm asking these questions specifically to make sure I'm thinking in the right place.
The gentleman's name was Walker, James Walker.
See, I didn't know him.
Is it next to the diesel repair place?
It's right past the E.L. Farmer building. It's the brown brick house right next to it.
There's 2 lots.
They got a church in.
One that's his sister's and one that would be acres.
You going towards East Spring.
Are y'all getting all of that?
No,
land?
no, we get
3
the
acres.
3 acres.
It's a big house. House in that normal furniture lot. Yeah.
It's the first, that nice brick, brown brick home right past the old E.L. Farmer truck building. It's a
There's a
house right
Baptist
next to
church.
them.
The Baptist church and then a business that's not there anymore, and then
The brown brick house. And if I may ask a question, where were y'all wanting to put the mobile home?
In the, let me orient myself directions. It would be in the northwest
west.
corner of that 3 acres.
There's nothing in that area at this time. It's this video. This is where the home is. Yeah. No, I have it backwards. It's over here, but this is cut off, so it doesn't show you anything.
Would you like to see the survey?
It's bigger than that, it's cut off, I apologize. It's bigger. And then this is the home that she would be purchasing.
See, this is the 4 acres to the east of it, this is the 3 acres, the home and the outbuilding. This should come out here a little bit further, and where we want to put the manufactured home. If you will walk that, each one of the council members, then.
Let me go shoot, can I get a copy of it, maybe?
Sure.
Can we go get a copy?
Yeah.
Did you show them where it's wider, Jimmy, than it shows there? Because it
No, they
is.
just concerned about where the home.
Oh, okay.
It looked nice.
It's just, you know.
So did you have some connection to Lone Star or?
No, we've been looking to get into East Texas, for several months. With the inventory being so low, real estate inventory, it's been hard to find a place. It was easier for us to find a home than it was to find a town to move to and then find a home. So we found the home and then the town to move to, and I think Lone Star is a pretty nice little community. We will have to find some jobs. I'm partially retired. I'm drawing some Social Security. She just retired from school teaching for 25 years this year. But I think this property that we're buying is good for us. It's nice. The house is older. It's going to need some work, but I enjoy doing stuff like that. And like I said before, her brother lives at Murchison.
Here's Hyden.
And he's been there for 30 years. And their mother would like to get down to get closer to both of them. And if she can move a manufactured home in on that would put them closer together.
I think there's 3 brick houses right there, right?
Yeah, I was trying to,
One where the ambulances used to,
Oh, yeah, I think you're right.
right next to the diesel place.
maybe pull it up. The building that the ambulance was originally a trucking.
I love the phone maps from the address.
Like, it's up on the
Hey,
hill.
the ambulance used to be there.
Yes.
When we had it, that's what it was.
There's
And
a
then some
machine
people out of
shop
California bought
is
it.
Yes, ma'am, A&E.
A&E,
Yes, sir.
uh-huh.
And now
There's a
ain't nobody in
her
it.
property.
Yeah,
They
The
don't
year before
decide
you
to
get there.
yes.
Somebody in there paying.
I know where you
They
are.
was working on the other day when I went through there.
Who's that?
It's right across from the Baker's tax office.
So how are things in Oklahoma?
Maybe.
Drive the Panhandle a little bit.
Really?
Yeah, this side of spring.
Where y'all from? Where at up there?
Sorry?
Where are you from up there?
A little town in Turpin.
I know where you are. I used to live in Emerald.
Okay, yeah. Yeah, everything we do is in Kansas, so we live close enough to Liberal, Kansas.
Hot, dry, windy.
Yeah.
And no trees.
Yes.
We have lots of
Except
trees.
in November and December, it's hot, dry, and snow.
Dry
Or
snow.
hot, cold and stuff.
This-
Yeah.
This last spring was real dusty. It was dry, and that wind picked up real bad. I think it's the windiest I've ever seen it up there. And we had several dirt storms.
Bring back memories of the Dust Bowl.
Well, you'll have trees here and you'll have pollen storms.
Yellow.
Well, it's not as humid up there as it is here, and I'm telling people I'm trading dirt in the air for water in the air.
And trees.
And trees, lots of trees.
Lots of trees.
It's so beautiful here. It's beautiful.
And we moved here, I did, because of the trees and it's just beautiful with all the oak trees. You go just a hair farther into Arkansas and it's all pines, but we have lots of really nice
Well,
oaks.
and that's something I noticed, the hardwood trees are almost as tall as the pine trees. I was raised down by Stillwater, Oklahoma, oh, thank you. And, there's a lot of hardwood trees down there, post oak, black, stuff like that, but they're not near as tall as they are here. And it's just a beautiful area, and we'd like to come in and become a part of the community, get to know people.
We're nice people,
We've been,
Most of us are, but I'm not.
except for Mitch.
we've been, like I said, we've been looking for a place for months, and I haven't met any unfriendly person in this whole area. I haven't, and I'm impressed.
People are open the door for you and say hello, and when you pass them on the highway, they don't know you, but they wave.
And I know there's been an influx of out-of-staters, and I was concerned that I might jade some people a bit against some out-of-towners moving in, out-of-staters, but we've been really impressed with the kindness that's been shown.
The kindness, the way of life, the politics sort of wave.
When you read the ordinance, was that all the ordinance, that's all of it? There wasn't anything about notifying neighbors or consent from neighbors or anything like that?
I honed in actually on that, Cody, give me just a second.
Can I show where the home's gonna be?
Yes, please, go ahead, you can practice on it.
Maybe just make it 10.
This has actually been cut off from the home. This would be the Farm Market Road there, or Industrial Boulevard, and the home would be right in this area right here.
All right. The reason I asked that is because let's say if that is in the ordinance and there was a
The
neighbor
home would be right in here.
that had to be notified and they weren't, then they would have a cause of action.
And I think traditionally, the council has requested that,
This
but
tree here.
it's not in the ordinance.
This is being cut off a little bit.
We have, that's what we did, we requested it, but you're right, it wasn't in the
Yes, sir.
ordinance.
Not that I remember.
I think you're right.
The home will be right in here.
Okay.
Yeah, this is industrial here. So northwest. I'll bet it.
So,
We're not getting
will
neighbors
the,
around.
will, how will, I mean, are you gonna have a permanently anchored? How's it gonna be anchored when you bring it in? What's gonna happen? Because, and the reason I ask that is because some of that makes a difference in whether it's considered real property or personal property.
I haven't talked to the dealer. I
Said
think
it would be anchored.
he'll anchor it, but I don't think it's gonna be set down like on a permanent foundation.
They don't, my sister just got one, it's not sitting down on the foundation, it's sitting up. But it's anchored.
They will,
Yeah,
um,
tied down.
put down, the way I understand it, a soil mixture that they, hard pack, and then set it on blocks and then anchor it down. And the skirting they use is, this dealer uses a composite type skirting that it's not vinyl, it's not metal. But it's real tough. They said it stands up to weed eaters. I've seen some where the weed eater has broke through it, but, and the siding on the home has a 50-year warranty on it. And the roof is 3-tab shingles with a 20-year warranty.
One thing another thing that the ordinance calls out is, and this is kind of a gray area, mobile home parks or travel trailer parks may be located on such a manner that each boundary of the park must be at least 200 feet from any permanent residential building located outside of the park. Now, that is for a park specifically, but now I don't know if you,
To say this is not Carlin Trailer, it's called a manufactured home.
That's what this is, it's manufactured, it's not a trailer house.
But these are registered trailers. 60 foot wide, 60 foot.
Well, if it's built after 1976, it's not a mobile home anyway, it's a manufactured home.
Oh, is that right?
that's terminology.
Because it's HUD,
Okay.
the regulations, it meets the HUD regulations.
That's better.
Above HUD.
Council, do you have any further questions or further comments?
Other than there's not some stipulation where the neighbors had to consent to it or anything like that. You almost read through it, right? It's like 2-3 pages. You just,
I've scanned through it. When I was looking for, the information I was looking for was to determine whether we had it documented on whether a mobile home could be placed here or not. And that's what I was specifically looking for. The majority of what I've read through is pertaining to mobile home parks.
Will it be, once you get it installed, would it have to be is it gonna have to be appraised? Because you're putting on the land?
Appraised.
I don't know, it's gonna be a cash deal, and we'll be cash, so I don't know. I guess the only appraisal will be for the tax assessment.
Well, and that's why and I'm not against it, I was asking the question because it depends on whether it's real or personal property as to how it's taxed, and also how the depreciation
Yeah.
is entered on it, you know, because one way the depreciation like having a car, and the other way it's more like, it won't drop as much, it'll be more like a home. So that would be my only question would be, with what Cody said about notifying the homeowners, if we let them know that it's gonna be, you know, it's gonna be set up, it'll have property taxes attached to it and all that stuff. Because if it's not, if it's gonna be property that's not valued as property tax, but more of a real property, then they may have an issue with it because of the affected property taxes of their surrounding neighbors. So I would
Well,
think.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, sir.
How close are you considering neighbors? Because I don't know any other
That's what I'm saying,
houses out there.
I don't think there's any houses out there.
Within, yeah, there's.
Just
I mean,
Did we not,
sister, and she doesn't live
I'm just
there.
looking at this, did we not say there were some houses adjacent to that or anywhere?
There's not.
Okay, so it's just wide, and I know where,
The only thing is
and I know what
commercial.
we're talking about, but I thought somebody said earlier there was a
There
couple more
is.
houses in that area.
Ain't nobody
Past
there
them,
one
there
of
are. There is the little storage building, shop building, whatever, that apparently, that you guys didn't buy, that has an RV shed out there.
No, we.
No, we-
have that.
Y'all do own
Yeah.
that? Okay.
There's a building across the street, I
That's the
think.
cinder block.
It's empty, it says something, had somebody's name barbecue on it at one time evidently.
Well, that's a Spoon's Barbecue sign that's up there.
Yeah.
But the cinder block building is an old
It's
Yeah,
empty.
it's not
commercial
industrial.
building.
Yeah.
Alright, and the church, I don't know if anybody, is that church active?
Yes.
That's there, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. My cousin, church, I'm talking to you, they don't see them.
Oh, okay.
Question in reference to your water and sewer. What are your plans?
Well, that house the house is connected to city water and sewer, and we were going to do a tap for the mobile home.
For the water.
For the water and sewer.
It's in my own, yeah.
Yes, sir.
If that's allowed.
And you know, we, agreed to them, but that was on Sandy Center, on Patrick Mobile Home. Right over there on Sandy Center, and they never did build it.
And they never did, they never did come
When they come. But that road.
Now, as far as tax,
They gonna tax.
we'll own the land, but she'll own the home. How will that work?
So I've talked to the county on this.
Yeah.
And the way the county does it is they have a service that flies over with an airplane and takes pictures. If they see a square, you're billed for square footage as if it's part of your home, whether it's a shed, a lean-to. If they see a square, you're billed as if it's part of your house. So you'll get billed as that being a.
Even though it's gonna be her house, you will have it taxed on your taxes.
Because I'm billed on my sheds, I'm billed on my carport as if it's part of my house. It's not right, but that's the way it is.
And they can probably bill you separately, you know, typically it's 2 different account numbers for the building and well, not 2 different account
Well,
numbers.
they're gonna be placing the mobile home
Yeah.
on their property. They're gonna be receiving taxes on their property.
Yeah,
So they're gonna look at the mobile home as theirs, even though it may be in your name. They're gonna look at it as theirs as part of the taxing.
We may end up, it might make sense this year, this is a cash deal of conveying the acreage for the home to sit on, so it's wholly hers. And then we bill it back.
We're off.
It's still pertaining to this topic. I mean, these are things we need to address because of, I mean, not necessarily the taxing, but the home.
Yeah.
So you guys are talking about having a brand new sewer and water line to this house? You're not gonna connect
Right.
to your existing
Right.
sewer and water
No,
line?
no, it would be a tap
So-
into the. And set a new water meter also.
if we were to vote to approve this and then reread through the ordinance and decide we missed something, we could re-vote it the next month, yay or nay, right?
We would need to make a correction or an exception, one way or the other, yeah.
Well, if it's approved tonight, we'll move forward
soon on moving it out.
It wouldn't affect you, it would just affect what we would have to be doing.
Well, let's say that it said that,
I'm still with you.
yeah, that the neighbors or the neighboring property owners had some sort of,
Beef with it.
yeah, some sort of official path to contest it, and they did contest it, then,
But since there's no neighbors out there.
I don't know, I
Adjacent
just,
properties though.
yeah, I just haven't read the ordinance, and I don't know exactly which house it is. Where's the Gossett? Do they still live
The
there?
Gossett House
They
is
gone.
past it.
Yeah. Past
Uh,
it?
Yeah, the Terrells live there now, it's all grown up.
Mm-hmm.
It's right before you get to JP Diesel's. Their house is, when you go down the hill, you know, you have that little road that goes to the right that takes you out to the lake. Then you have the little church, the little metal building there, that's on the right. It's gonna be it's gonna be the,
Is it maroon brick?
Yeah.
is it maroon? I always thought it was brown.
It-
It kind of looks
red,
brown from the
brown.
road.
That's an ambulance one.
Yeah, that's
Keep
that.
coming up. You remember Amanda Walker?
No.
James was her uncle or something.
It's gonna be the actual,
Yeah, I was thinking of the ambulance one.
it's gonna be the fifth structure on the right.
The ambulance, and somebody out of California bought that, but I think they moved out because I saw them remodeling that. It's totally
for sale.
remodeled.
It was just for sale. They
That's what I'm
listed
saying.
it
They-
on a realtor's
they just
website
moved
without
out.
windows.
It's the fifth structure on the right. Do you remember where the old E.L. Farmer trucking
Think so.
company? Okay. E.L. Farmer's on the right. It's got a pretty good sized lot between E.L. Farmer, there's a big lot, and then their house. And I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, you guys own that lot or part of. And behind it, the gentleman that was there before he was getting rid, he had a bunch of stuff out there he was selling. And at the back of it, it's got a pole barn, kind of like a pole barn type thing, a metal shed type thing that's open.
I thought where they had the stuff for sale was the Gossett House. But
No, that's, the
okay.
Gossett House is on, the old Gossett House is the house right before you get to JP Diesel.
Okay.
It's a brick house off the roadway.
This may seem like a moot point, but how many square feet is the home more than
It's a
this?
little bit over 1,800.
Okay, I thought so by the way it looked, but I just want to ask the question.
Does anybody know, can I ask, when that part was annexed into the city limits? I'm assuming that it didn't start with city limits because there is a well on it, and I think there's an old septic system on there, so I'm guessing it didn't start out in the city limits.
I don't know if the city ever annexing anything that it didn't start with, but there's a
Okay.
whole community back there that predates the city by quite a bit. And so that the well probably predates the city, which is only from like 1952 or 53.
And we were looking at the property today just to verify that it was classified in the city limits, which it is. But
It's kind of
based
funny.
upon how it is a zigzag,
It is.
yes, we were looking at that because in the event that it might have been a new point to be had, right, but it is actually inside.
Yeah.
I reminded them for just back up.
Give us just a moment here to look at this document, see if there's anything that requires consent from neighbors.
Everything I'm seeing pertains to a park. No, I did not see.
And that's where it came up the last time. The gentleman put the, they voted to put it in there across from you. And it was only supposed to be 10 mobile parks. And spewed the gentleman's name. I don't know what it was anyway.
But, you know, I think we're gonna find that there's not something extra. We can probably feel comfortable voting on it. But if we did reread it tomorrow or the next day and found something where we weren't happy with it, and we had to revote it, we could let you know, I'm sure.
So this is talking about the mobile home park outside.
That's what they were, time period, that's what they were referencing.
The contact information for the mobile home park behind the spring market, several years ago anyways, was like Rat Hole
Yes.
Mobile Home Park. And it's somebody from way out of town.
I can tell you the last time the council made a variance on a mobile home was up by the ice house. And I can tell you the neighbors weren't happy about it, and we allowed it anyway, and there was no repercussions then.
There's two right past the ice house. There's one just across the street. The ice house is not in the city limits.
You go up and turn.
And to the right. Yep.
That one was put in about 10 years ago.
But before you get there, there's one
Talks about
up the hill. It's the people who own nice houses. Family.
Okay.
And it looks like it's been no longer than one you mentioned.
And that's the problem that the people that had the house right there, the issue they had was that was considered a city street, but it was a private driveway to them because nobody else lived there, but then somebody bought that lot and wanted to put a mobile home there, and they didn't want somebody driving on it. And if we said it was our street, then they wanted us to repave it, because it's just a dirt road. And he said, I'm sorry, we're not gonna do that.
The one behind Spring Market has been sold.
Oh, the mobile home park?
Yes, sir.
So it's no longer the rat hole? Yes.
I really don't want my mother living in a rat hole.
Yeah.
We wouldn't let her.
The guy that bought it has plans for
I
it.
know.
They're literally
Well,
falling apart.
Randy, what did we do with the guy that lives on your street that put one in? How did we handle that?
He had to go to each neighbor's house.
Okay.
I think that before he came to the meeting and requested that we make a variance on that. But yeah, that was a practice he did do.
I'm for, property owners' rights to basically do whatever they want to on their property, but I don't want to create a hang-up, is all.
Well, this house is probably about $300,000 house. It costs as much as a brick house. Well, my sister just bought one, had moved in Naples, and she lives right into the limit. Matter of fact, right across from the park. Seems like our area is on the problem. People that have a problem with a mobile home. A manufactured home, it's not a mobile home anymore.
Well, no, but,
Council, do you want to make a decision on this with a caveat that there could be an exception, and we'll clarify it if there is or not?
Because that's not gonna help these folks. It's not gonna expedite their process. Because you can't, I wouldn't say we need to vote yes with the opportunity to come back and say, well, it's kind of this. I would rather us tell them, and I know that's not gonna meet their timeline, but I would rather let us look and make sure all the i's are dotted and the t's are crossed, and then at next month's meeting, we vote and pass it in after we reviewed everything. I wouldn't want us to do that, and then we find something that is gonna be a mess for them and for us to try to clear up. I'd wanna make sure everything was clear so they could just get started and do their thing. And like I say, I realize it's gonna delay their timeline some, but for everybody's sake and legally, I would think we need to look at all that before we do that. That's just my opinion.
And as far as you're aware, I think Mr. Cox has something to say.
Can I speak?
Yes.
The history of that area right there was that the Haley family owned all of that property. And Mr. Haley got sick and passed. And the family sold that, well, let me back up. E.L. Farmer bought their property from the Haley family. My dad worked for E.L. Farmer for 30 years, and I worked for him for 25. And we bought that property, and we actually put a pipe yard in the back there. When Mr. Haley got sick and passed, they sold that property to the Barnwell. And they lived in that house for a long time. And then the reason that, if I remember right, that ordinance is in there is during the heyday of the oil field, all these trucking companies were coming in here, and you'd go home, and in the morning there was a trailer house sitting there because there was no place for them to domicile their business. And they were dragging motorhomes in here and just putting them up. Well, they wouldn't clean them up when they left. Some of them wouldn't even take them with them. And that's the reason that ordinance is in
This ordinance that you're reading right now is the only reason that we're addressing this, right?
Yes.
I looked in 54, which was talking about, it just slips my mind. It was the ordinance that I thought that we were supposed to be looking into that would make reference to it as far as, Cody, you probably know it, 54, talking about the,
Occupancy, most of it.
most of it's occupancy, but it's one that was revised for the hotel.
Yeah.
The Airbnb and stuff like
Yeah.
that, as far as on the guidelines, and we found nothing in that ordinance pertaining to mobile homes or manufacturing homes. So when I started going through some of the ordinances and found this one about the trailer park and thought it was a long shot, started glancing through it and scanned across it and found the situation to where of what hearsay was that we didn't allow mobile homes. I found it specified in here that if it was to allow a mobile home, it had to come before the council. And so that's why we're here tonight. But what I've read through here thus far is pertaining to only mobile home parks. It does not refer anything, other than that one section, it does not reference anything that states that you have to contact the local neighbors, and which,
Because it's not a zoning issue.
no, it's residential, because several months ago, there was a phone call about that property that you guys were buying, if it could be converted to commercial because of it being right next to the EO Farmer structure. And it could have been based on the guidelines.
And what you first read, though, said that outside of a licensed mobile or home or trailer park, it had to have permission. Is that what you first read?
It shall be unlawful for any person to locate and maintain for dwelling or sleeping purposes any mobile home or travel trailer in any place in the city of Lone Star other than a duly licensed mobile home park or travel trailer park, unless, in big bold, big letters, unless permission is granted by the city council in a regular session.
And I've never heard of a mobile home license. The city doesn't grant them, I assume. I mean, a mobile home park license, right?
Yeah.
What year was this ordinance?
Well, they're talking about a licensed mobile home park.
Yes.
The actual established, because you've got to establish a mobile home like the one over in Dangerfield, you've got to have a license, to have that
And like-
established as a mobile home park.
Is it a state law or a county thing? Or?
It's like Scenic View has mobile home park.
It doesn't apply anyway, so.
Yeah, okay.
And if I remember correctly, we had another person that requested a mobile home be put in on, or was it in your neighborhood?
Senior Center.
And on San Jacinto. And she came before us and asked for permission. And as a council,
We agree.
we agreed on
She
the,
never will.
and we asked her to go to her neighbors and ask if they had a problem with it. It wasn't written anywhere. We just asked as a council to do that. And she came back and said she had done that, but she never put one in.
But that's in the neighborhood too, though.
Yeah.
That's a little bit
Right,
more in the
exactly.
guidelines.
But it
where would be
wasn't-
that
it
these
had-
guys are out and about on the highway.
Yeah, but it wasn't
And
an
they're on a
ordinance or
3-acre
anything.
lot.
We just as a
But it's still in the
council.
city limits.
It is,
So
and
you
that's
still-
why y'all are having this.
Barely in the city limits.
Yeah, barely, yeah.
Like this.
Yeah,
When did-
but it wasn't an ordinance.
Right.
It was just a suggestion.
When did you say
as a
you would,
council.
you would move it in?
Next week.
So would we have to have a variance in, we would,
We wouldn't move.
I don't,
because it's in the city
No,
limits,
we
and not
can't.
mobile, we'd have to have a variance.
I don't know
No,
if we,
we don't. Not as
Why
a-
don't we? It's in the city limits.
I know, but-
It just falls underneath what she just talked about not being in a mobile home park.
I don't know if calling it a
But that
variance
last
or
sentence
not
says-
calling it a variance.
Unless permission is granted by the city council in a regular session.
We had to have a variance on the one they put up there by Randy.
I mean, I think you could call it,
Sure
I don't
did.
know, but I don't think that variance necessarily, you could call it a variance or not a variance, but it would be
Depends
permission.
on the vote of the council,
I
whether
mean, It sounds like the description of a variance, what it describes there.
Yeah, the last sentence says unless the council decides to do it.
I think it would be advisable if it's voted for, that we document it, just to have it documented stating that the council, other than in the minutes, the council approved it, and have it documented somewhere to where it can be on record, that You know, if it's nothing more than just a letter, if that's what the council wants to do, or either let it go strictly with the minutes.
I'm fine with either way. I mean, the minutes are legally.
Yeah, I mean, it's,
What's the pleasure of the council?
I make a motion that we allow, their names, but with the double ID able to be placed at manufactured home, be placed on the 3-acre lot located at 520 East Industrial Avenue.
Caution you that, go ahead. I have a motion, do I hear a second?
I second it.
I have a second, Ms. Jerry, all in favor say aye. Passes. You're welcome. Make sure that you get a permit, no plumbing and any electrical done will have to be inspected.
Right. Right,
We
and
appreciate it.
we'll just come to the city hall for the water and sewer,
Yes.
and then notify, is the electric company a co-op or is it a private?
Louis Cass.
There's council.
I think it's a total electric home, I don't think we'll have gas. The gas is.
Thank you very much for coming, we appreciate your time here.
We're looking forward to becoming part of the community.
Very much so.
We look forward to it too.
Thank you.
And congratulations on getting a new home.
Thank you.
Both of them.
All right, 6-2. Review, discussion, possible action by the city council to consider the abolishment of the Economic Development Corporation to transfer money to the general fund account if allowed by law. Mr. Womack, would you like to
All
comment?
right. There's about $300,000 there, a little under. And the way I see it, we have 2 government boards, 2 sets of meetings, 2 sets of things to keep up with as far as legal requirements and liabilities and that sort of thing. As far as whether we can vote to terminate it, it's Chapter 501 of the Local Government Code, Section 401, alteration or termination by authorizing unit. At any time, a corporation's authorizing unit at its sole discretion may, in accordance with the subtitle, alter the corporation's structure, organization, programs, or activities, or terminate the existence of the corporation. And then Section 406, assets on termination. On termination, the title to all funds and property owned by the corporation is transferred to the corporation's authorizing unit, the general fund. But we could verify that with TML at no charge. So to me, I would prefer to then lower the sales tax to 7.75%, but I mean, the maximum sales tax is 8.25%. So I mean, the city council could, of course, basically collect the same taxes. So in addition to the $300,000 lump sum that would go to the general fund, you would have you would have the ability to raise the sales tax proportionately another 0.5%, so that you're still collecting those sales taxes for the general fund. So I make a motion that we dissolve the Economic Development Corporation and transfer the funds to the general fund and continue on.
Any other comments from the council members? So I've heard a motion that we abolish the Economic Development Board, transfer the funds to the general fund,
Corporation.
corporation. Do I hear a second? And I do not hear a second. And the motion dies at the table. 6-3. Review, discussion, possible action to discuss the rate increase for municipal lawyers, Boyle and Lowry LLP.
This is more or less just an FYI. I just want to make sure you guys were aware of it as everybody else. And everything else is going up, so are our lawyers.
This is via hand delivery. Did they deliver it by hand?
What's that?
At the top of the letter, it says via hand delivery. Did they come here to?
No.
No.
It'd be an email delivery.
Okay. I'd like to speak on this a little bit. So Boyle and Lowry, I can think of multiple examples where they've had huge typos in the legal work that they've done for us and charged huge amounts of money. I was standing there at the taco stand and Rathman went through town 100 miles an hour. And the person I was standing with did public information, this is before you were here, did Public Information Act request to find out where it was going. And Boyle and Lowry wrote a letter to the Attorney General to try to deny that request and charge the city $5,000. And they said that this person had expressed amicus towards the police, which means friendliness. They meant to say animus, okay? In the Rocky Point lawsuit, they did everything on behalf of the city of Lone Star and on behalf of the city of Westlake. They just copied and pasted it. Another example of a typo, I can't remember it, but there was like 4, let me think. And I feel like in the situation with Ryan Hart, I feel like they gave the city bad advice and charged them a lot of money for it, and then charged them like another double of that to fix it. I really would like to look for a local attorney. We have to have a city attorney, right, officially. A lot of people, their city attorney and their prosecutor in their city court, if they have one, is the same law firm. At one point, it was an EDC meeting, I think, and Sandy Wexler, had pointed out that they specialize in municipal law, which to me is not necessarily a good thing. I would rather have someone local, much more affordably priced. And so whether they asked for this increase or not, I would have wanted to look for a different city attorney. We have a comment right there.
When I was on council, several of you were on with me at that time, we were involved in a lawsuit. They gave us advice that we were obligated to take certain actions. And as soon as we took those actions on their advice, they turned around and said we had no legal standing to defend ourselves. And it ended up costing us $26,000 to defend ourselves, to just get out of it as graceful as we could without it costing us more than that. They gave us horrible advice at every turn. It's almost if they were trying to get us into lawsuits so that they could charge us to defend us from their own advice. Horrible advice from them. I've thought for years that we should have got rid of it.
I have, in my tenure time with USDL, I was in a number of court cases, and the practice of law to me is quite interesting. You pull up data that you're looking for, and it seems that you've got pages and pages and pages of absolutes. This is what it says. These are rules. This is legal. This is not legal. And then you flip 2 or 3 more pages over, or 50 pages over, and you start seeing opinions, and then it becomes a little confusing, a little convoluted. Law is not a science as much as we prefer it to be that way. It's a practice. I have thought on several occasions back through that 30-year period, and I believe that the symbol of the lady being blindfolded, holding the scales, trying to find the truth, definitely describe the practice of law. In the issue with, I don't like to talk about past cases, but in one of the past cases that we had, it was that type of situation where the law said this: if you don't reside in the city, you can't be on the board. It's very clear. But then there are opinions that go after this, and Stan told me at that point, he said, there are a lot of exceptions to this on how it can be interpreted. How do you prove certain things?
If I may,
Sure.
in that scenario, they said that the law gave this, that was very specific on what should happen. What it didn't say is that we had the authority to make it happen. But their advice to us is that we were supposed to fix the problem, and it wasn't within our authority, and that's why we got beat up on it. They gave us incorrect legal advice.
Well, the decision was made by the judge. And,
Rightfully so.
and I agree. And I'm not gonna go back into that thing, that's too long ago and it's irrelevant. But
I'm just saying that
who
they
do
seem
you
like
wanna use?
shysters.
Do you have an idea of someone?
Well, I think we should shop around,
Okay.
but
Agreed.
ideally someone not based in Dallas, honestly. I think someone who can come to town in 30 minutes or less. So ideally, but not Dallas. The other example that I couldn't think of a second ago was we had not filed the EDC founding documents, and then we got quotes. I don't remember, it was $5,000 or $10,000, and everybody was like, "Whoa!" And then the city secretary at the time said, "Well, let's check with TML," and it came up when we didn't go when it was nowhere near $5,000 or $10,000, which is what Stan Boyle and Lowry were talking about.
So you're, so
Yeah,
if I
like $400 or $500.
understand, you're figuring that we need to look for
Yes.
another law firm, check with several in the area that we have more access to. Okay.
And I mean, I think
That's been entertained before and sought after.
These guys will reference Tyler.
Yeah, that was the
Since I've
time when we
been here.
could run it into, they could say, well, they represent they represent, not Grapevine, what was it, Garland.
they have a very nice website. I've been all over their website, and they represent some big towns. And
It has merit.
Well,
Do you want to pursue looking at another law firm, see what our options are? We're not terminating
Okay.
them as our
we
legal
could, though.
representative right now.
We could tonight, though. We could. But
We don't
Well, we
need to
could just
terminate
look at
them
it.
until we have someone to
Okay.
replace them with.
yeah.
Because who knows what could happen tomorrow on things. But we have discussed, and just like I've got some names of some lawyers that I'm trying to check into for the prosecutor, since Rick is retired, and there may be someone like that, in Longview. I know I've checked with Dangerfield. They're using lawyers out of around Dallas area also. Because they made comment the ones that were around here close were higher than the ones up and around Dallas area. And I'm like, that seemed a little odd, but
Tyler.
Dallas is not necessarily a deal breaker, but Tyler, Texarkana, Paris, Shreveport, most attorneys in Shreveport are licensed to practice in Texas. Most attorneys, though, 90% of them are ambulance chasers. So like you go into the phone book to look at an attorney, and it's already a small pool.
All of Shreveport are ambulance
Yes.
chasers.
from what I understand though, and correct me if I'm wrong, from what has been explained to me during the research that I've done, I'm trying to find somebody else. There are certain groups of lawyers that specialize more in municipality type functions and features, and that was where these were, even just recently since I've been here, these guys were referenced that they're good at, as far as on municipality.
I can think of 3 or 4 examples where they've done really bad for the city. And if it was me personally and I had lost this kind of money with an attorney, I wouldn't care what the references were. I would say, here's my reference.
Well, I know you dig in the law and follow up a lot of things. Have you encountered any suggestive type people that do have a municipality background?
You know, and I think, like, let's say I have a question about Texas City stuff. We pay dues to Texas Municipal League, and they will get back with us within 24 hours with something specialized for that. And if we had a city attorney that we could generally, our official city attorney, we could generally ask for them for advice. That doesn't mean that we couldn't, if we had some case where we really needed somebody who had some specialization. The main problem I have with Boyle and Lowry is Boyle and Lowry. It's not Dallas or that they specialize or, but it would take some shopping, serious shopping to find an alternative. But I think it can be done. I mean, I think Shelton and Stovall would have been, a possibility, someone local like that. Obviously, Nick's law firm is not, they don't handle this sort of thing.
Well, but
And then across from the courthouse, he's retired.
This has been brought up several times, and then, again, we have pursued it on occasion, trying to find a more, a better option for us, but I'm all for looking for options, but I want to retain their services in the meantime. That would be my choice.
We do not have a contract with them. We are on an as-needed basis, so that is beneficial to where,
Do we have a retainer? Yeah. Do we have a retainer with them? No?
you know, I pay them for just whatever services. We pay nothing but what we need.
Okay.
If it's emails or consulting or whatever, we just pay for whatever services that are provided to us.
Well, I think
I would just think if we're gonna look around, and one of the questions we should ask is, what commitment would you make to spend actual time here? If it's 1 day a month, 2 days a month, however it is, to actually come here and sit down once a month or whatever, or spend a day here to find out if we have issues, is there something they can address here without having to email it back and forth 100 times, or without sending it and say, okay, Mona, here it is, oh, well, let me pass it to Miss Jerry, and let me pass it to Tina, and then every time you pass it to somebody else, you're gonna bill us an extra $200 or whatever. I would like for us to look for somebody, if we're gonna look, to give us a more personalized type service, even if we have to pay a retainer. That's my biggest issue with them is, you've never seen them here. It's all done by email, and sometimes that doesn't cut it for us. You know, sometimes we need somebody here just to talk about issues and find out which way we need to go. We can do it with TML, but TML is not gonna give you a definitive answer. They're gonna say, talk to your city attorney, because every city's different. So-
I'm sorry.
When I was president of the Economic Development, we had two different people come in here wanting us to look at loaning, making them a loan to start a business. And Devin called the city attorney, whatever his name is, Lowry, you say, Cody?
Mm-hmm.
And his response to the EDC was, you shouldn't be making loans in the first place to anybody. That's what he told us. And then sent us a bill for $600 out of it for a phone call.
So from what I'm hearing, does someone want to make a motion that we pursue a different option?
I'll make a motion.
Is that,
Right there, goes down.
the initial,
this is in reference to the rate increase?
yeah, it's actually.
It's kind of a little off
Yeah.
target if we make a motion to try to go the other
Like,
way.
they sent you a letter and said it was via hand delivery and emailed it to you and said, we're going up. And we could say no, but like, we're not gonna do that, we're not gonna, because we're hiring them à la carte anyways, as you said.
Hang on just a second, let me think back, Cody, because they may have sent me an email and they may have sent it in the mail as well, but as far as hand delivery, no, it was not. Because I get so many emails coming in, and then Karen gets so much mail that comes in that I get, but as far as hand delivery, no. I did not see anybody walk in and deliver that.
I would have thought at least they would do would be send it to you by registered or certified mail where you had to
Well,
sign.
see, and I don't see that. Karen opens the mail up and then gives me the mail. So I don't know if it came registered or not.
For the moment, since we have some outstanding issues that are pending, that we're trying to get through, would you want to go ahead and accept the rate increase and then, as a side note, go out and look for another source?
I think that's what we should do, just use them as little as possible.
I already
We
did
always-
that.
We always do, yeah.
Because it doesn't make me a happy camper when I have to pay $400 or $500, $600 for
An email.
a couple of hours of communication. I realize they can't do things for free,
Mhm.
but, and I have called them out on something, you charged me X amount of dollars for something other, and I wrote the time down, and we only talked for 45 minutes. So, or 30 minutes or whatever, I have called them out on that, because I I'm very frugal with our money, and I'm not gonna give it away for an extra 30-minute charge when you only talk to me for 30 minutes.
Well, I say we go ahead and keep their services at their rate increase, but an addendum to that would be us to shop around for another lot.
Hopefully by next month.
Yeah, that would be the
Would you
goal.
say, Cody?
I said hopefully by next month.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a question for you. Would you be willing to help him shop?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Because I have already looked, and I have made some calls, and
It's a hard job finding an
You're not
attorney.
gonna bill us $200 an hour.
I wish that, I think it'd be legal.
So, I made the motion, and did you, who seconded? Jerry
Got a
seconded.
second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
So we're,
Nay.
okay, understood.
Well, you're for
We're moving
it.
the increase, and
Not
the
for it.
caveat is that we're going to look for another option. 6-4. Review, discussion, possible action to discuss the water rates for some new subdivision located outside the city limits of Lone Star.
Thank you.
hi, y'all.
Thank
Where's
you.
the
Thank you
big-
very much for
I'll
coming.
be careful going back.
Thank you.
Maybe you wanna discuss this, you want me to
You got all the notes. I have talked about this thing until I'm blue in the face. Please comment.
Okay, the basically, for you that don't know, with Serenity subdivision coming into play, we stated that we'd like to supply them water in one of our meetings earlier this year, maybe latter part of last year.
It was a verbal.
Last year, it was a verbal only, we've not put anything in writing, we've not committed anything per se in writing, but it was voted on as a council that we would allow them to connect to our water lines. We have found in dealing with Northeast Texas Municipal Water District, because of that being a potential larger or more than just a minimum amount of houses, it could be potentially big, could be a sizable, amount of houses out there. They have chosen to increase our rate from $1.48 per 1,000 gallons to $3.25 per 1,000 gallons.
That's outside the city limits.
Yes.
Okay, that's Northeast Texas Municipal Water District's rate to us for providing water outside the city. Does that include the plant?
Now that I don't know. I have no idea. What we currently do now is we have a minimal amount of homes that we supply water to that are outside the city limits. But the city provides, we have our base fee that we charge within the city limits, and anything outside the city limits, we charge 1.5 times more than the base fee. That's in our ordinance and everything. So that is a way that we have offset the extra expense as far as going outside and working on lines or doing whatever, what we have to do. When this new subdivision come to play, what caught their attention at Northeast Texas was the sign that stated a few things on it, like, what all was it state on it?
It said what their services were, and it said city water provided.
And so that, Northeast Texas saw this, and that's where, some of the things started. Anyway, the bottom line to it all is the city, if we connect to them, and which we have stated that, or if they connect to us, which we have approved them to connect to us, we will get billed $3.25 per 1,000 gallons. And we had to supply Mr. Ansley some type of baseline information on what
What the rate would be.
the rate would be for him to go forward, so that he can, I guess, pass it on to potential buyers of property or this, that, and the other. So, just a rough estimate, and in that particular area too, because there's only 3 or 4 homes out there in that area, we have to flush the lines quite often. which basically means we are running water out on the line or out on the ground or out into the lake to keep their water fresh and to keep their water meeting the guidelines and requirements for water districts. If we were to do that, you know, we're doing it at $1.48 a gallon, per 1,000 gallons now. When you go in and start doing that at $3.25 per 1,000 gallons, that's gonna be a big hit to us. So we were trying to come up with the rate to kind of help offset that. So because we were advised to provide them with some type of a rate, we gave them a rate as a baseline only. We've got to make sure what we're doing is legal, but we gave them a rate of $50 for the first 2,000 gallons of water and $10 for each additional 1,000 gallons of water over 2,000 gallons. And the reason that we put that rate, which is higher than our current rate outside the city limits, is if we have to do all that flushing, we've got to be able to recoup some of that money.
One of the problems that we ran into, and Mr. Anthony approached us on this about a year ago. We requested an engineering study. And we have yet to receive the engineering study. He tells us that that's gonna come to us within the next week.
And it's been how many weeks?
Well, it's been over a year, but this is what we ran. As he was laying out the plats for the streets, they weren't wide enough to handle emergency vehicles. The lines, water lines that he was putting up there were not looped. That means we would have been purging water out. So we did not give him we didn't give him a written contract, and we did not give him a rate, because it was Southern Engineering trying to decide what that was gonna be, because you don't know how much water you're gonna purge out. We had a meeting with the judge, the water district, Mr. Ansley, and several more individuals. Originally, the county commissioners had shut that operation down, said you can't move forward because nothing to spec. So that defaulted us back to an engineering study. These things had to be corrected before we go forward. We didn't give them a quote. After the meeting, I was advised by the water board that we needed to give them a base rate. I got back with the county judge and said this was not my understanding of what we were required in the meeting, because we still don't have an engineering study yet. We can't measure what this is gonna look like.
And he's supposed to be getting and paying for an engineering study.
Yes. Yes, I believe it's.
See, the city's, with it being outside the city limits, it was not the city's responsibility to pay for the engineering study. And from the day, the first couple of months in, we laid out the fact, you know, we need the lines looped, we need an engineering study. These points were pointed out early on, it just was never done. We had received drawings,
But they weren't engineering.
but they were not engineering studies.
rough
They were
plans.
just baseline drawings. And then we'd gotten a rough estimate, like from KSA, what it would cost for us to pay for the lines to connect out there. Because, you know, if we're gonna supply them, we were getting rough estimates on that. But some things were not, we kind of put the cart before the horse. Instead of following through and getting the things done, activities began without going through county. And we learned something as well, that Northeast Texas is also the overseer of septic, I guess you'd say, is that waste? There's requirements and guidelines on septic systems, or aerobic systems, excuse me. But he had not gone through that, and we learned on that as well, that Northeast Texas was over that. So a lot of activities were going on and being done, and without the proper authorization or with all the requirements, TCEQ guidelines weren't being gone by. He didn't.
And this all defaults back to Serenity, not to us.
Yeah.
But having said all that, is we continue to wait for the engineering study. I got a lot of pressure from the water board. That's when I went to the judge and said, this is not how interpreted we had. We're still waiting on the engineering study. And I was advised by the county judge to give them a figure. And I said, I can give them a loose baseline figure. That's all I can do. And he said, I would suggest you go ahead and go through that.
Why would he suggest we do that?
So that, from what I understand, is so that he can estimate what it's gonna cost,
So we can market it.
yeah, for the people that's gonna buy property
Yeah.
out there for marketability.
There's 4 houses on the end of the road past this, where the water line has gone for
I believe
years.
that's correct.
At least 15 years. They all had wells before they had city water. And they all still have wells, I believe. My question is, they've been paying $1.48, are they now gonna be supposed to
Well,
pay?
no, they're actually paying 1.5 times the
Okay.
dollar. So we get a little wiggle room on that, and that's one of the things that I was telling Randy, I've been going back and forth with lawyers talking to me, I don't feel that I feel like we ought to be able to grandfather those guys in, because they're not part of the subdivision. But depending upon how we have to word our ordinance, we can't charge you this much outside the city limits and charge Serenity a bigger, higher rate. So that's where it gets a little tricky on how we're gonna have to do that, which is gonna tie into the next item. But, so I was telling Randy, I had already put this on there thinking I was gonna have some information back by the time of the meeting tonight, but I do not. So it's more or less a conversation to kind of let everybody know what's going on. What we have stated was in writing that right now, as a baseline, $50 for the first 2,000 gallons, $10 for each additional 1,000 gallons over 2,000 gallons, which is currently higher than anybody's paying right now. But and that includes our flushing cost, offset.
And in our conversation with Mr. Ansley last week, when he understood our reasoning behind it, he accepted that rate. But again, we haven't voted on it. It's been, like I said, it's been an estimated baseline.
What did you already put in writing?
Just the 50 for 2,000 gallons, and
Like-
then,
In a contract, or how do you mean in writing?
no, in an email.
In an email?
Just an email.
Um,
And I put in there stating that this, I told them initially, and I may have it in this email right here, that we cannot actually give him a value at the time.
Do you have any idea how much people in Jenkins pay for bi-county water?
I do not.
I don't either.
I've probably heard that from Walt Sears, but I don't recall what the rate was.
And we are, what, 20% of the Northeast Texas Municipal Water
I
District?
believe you're right.
Building power?
We still have not, again, I would see Walt Sears one day when this thing first started and the county had shut the operation down because they felt like it was out of spec, and there was some controversy with that too. And if you've ever had a conversation with Sears, he's quite thorough. He spoke at length about it, and after about 45 minutes, he said, "Did you sign a contract with them?" And I said, "No," because we still don't have the engineering study. You still can't accurately measure what that's gonna look like. And if it hadn't been at the behest of the county judge, I wouldn't have done it. But it seemed to be the appropriate thing to do, albeit that was their opinion.
Done what,
The $50 and the $10.
and would you describe this as an estimate that you gave?
It's an estimate,
Yeah.
and we told him it is a baseline. Go ahead, sir.
It's my understanding from, I believe it was Shane I was speaking to, might not have been, so don't hold me to that. We've talked about our cost to put a line out there from our
The 6-inch
connections,
line, yeah,
which is where we're dumping water now.
right.
That's not necessarily a requirement, because the 12-inch main going to Dangerfield is on the opposite side of the road. A new line can be run under the road and tapped on that. They could get their own meter for their community and also loop that line, because it's a big line, and running through there and then sending it back on into Dangerfield alleviates the dumping to the ground issue.
But they're not, they didn't give us an indication they were willing to do the electrical.
Well, he didn't think about that either. There are
Yeah.
too many parts and pieces of this subdivision that have not gone well, that weren't followed
As far as
correctly.
our costs on dumping water on the ground, I believe last number I heard from Shane was $2,600 a year is what we're paying now.
And
If
that's
we open
by
that
and
line up-
large, what we're done, you know, what we're purging from is that 6-inch line that runs to that county road.
Right.
Serenity's on the other side of it. That 6-inch line originally ran to the hospital. So when the hospital was closed off, it became an area that we had to purge water from because it just said bacteria.
It's not looped and it's the end of the line, which
Correct.
would happen anywhere.
Correct.
The one possible benefit is if there are several homes put in up there and they utilize a sizable amount of water, we may not have to purge.
But that's what we don't know.
So we
So
need,
albeit the rate is what it is, you're not gonna have to vote on this night, this is just an FYI.
Okay.
This is the status on it
Oh,
right
okay.
now.
Oh, just say discuss.
this is just a discuss.
'Cause it's,
It's a discuss.
Hopefully,
oh, is
we,
this possible act? No?
And that engineering study should come to us this next week. We'll put it on the agenda and get a more accurate rate and discuss it again, and you can approve or disapprove or whatever you want.
And the 6.5, just the same thing, we would discuss.
And actually, on the agenda, they also, discuss, review, discussion, possible action, all the
Yeah.
same, so.
We thought we would have the engineering study by now, but we don't, so that's the caveat, that's wrong with it.
So
And
when-
albeit that we had already put it on the agenda to discuss, we didn't want to delete it out.
When the county judge sort of, do you feel like, said, give them some idea so that they could market it? Is that as an official capacity, or is this just someone, a spokesman in the community sort of thing?
I would say it's more of a spokesman in the community. We've met several times, a couple of times with them, and the commissioners as they dealt with the issues of the deficiencies in the design. I was a little bit surprised when it was suggested that we do that, because I thought we were back to Mr. Lowry, he believes you're on very good, firm footing if there was a lawsuit that came back this way, but we're on very solid ground. But again, at the behest of Mr. Sears and the county judge, we sit down and try to extrapolate some type of value that we thought would give him a chance to go forward to market, and he is well aware this could change.
And I would be curious to know, and I'll look, by County Water's rates, go to their whole area, what's their highest rates, for example? There's gonna be more than here, obviously.
Yeah,
because-
and I have, in my discussions with all Sears, I've heard those figures, but Cody, I don't remember exactly what they were, and I wouldn't want to tell you because I'd probably call it wrong, but, yeah. Anyway, be that as it may, currently, that's where we are.
I make a motion to table any action. It says review, discussion, possible action.
Yeah, we go to the table, okay.
Table the action.
I've got a second, all in favor, say aye.
On water rates for Serenity subdivision.
Any opposed?
Aye.
You made the
You're opposed?
No, what are we doing?
We're
Wait,
You
was there a
made the
second?
motion. I did, I seconded.
And then
You
it-
made
You
the
missed the
motion.
yay part.
To
He
table
was at
it,
the nay part.
Okay.
yeah.
Hello?
I still don't follow that.
It all gets convoluted, doesn't it? Okay.
so
6-5.
Cody made a motion, Mona seconded, and all ayes.
Well, no.
I guess so.
All ayes.
Were you eyeing yes?
Yes.
Okay.
I hope so.
Let's get this thing over.
Oh,
6-5, review, discuss, possible action to implement a 5% water and sewer rate increases discussed during budget meetings and update ordinance 273 to reflect such increase.
I wanted it recorded in more than just our budget meeting minutes that we were going to incorporate the 5% water and sewer rate increase. But the ordinance update, I I prefer that we not do it yet until we know what we're gonna have to do with Serenity, otherwise we'll have to do it twice.
But we're gonna table
So
this
we
one
need to
too.
table this
Yeah,
one tonight.
I make a motion that we table 6-5.
There, a second.
I second it.
All in favor, say aye.
I think that we
I
adjourn.
second it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.